Hey everybody, I'm Katie Morton, editor-in-chief of Search Engine Journal, and this is Mordy Oberstein, who is the founder of Unify Brand Marketing, and he's an expert about branding. And so I'm so excited to be doing this series with Mordy. I know that I'm going to learn a lot, and so will you.
I'm stoked about this. I see that, I have pure self-interest. I see a lot of performance marketing and brand marketing fusing together, and people on the performance side talking about brand, which I'm excited to show them like, okay, yeah, here's exactly why if you're on the performance side, you should be talking about brand.
Yeah, well, especially these days, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about, Morty's going to teach us a lot about why meaning matters most in branding and how to build it.
Yeah.
Tell me about meaning in brand.
Meaning matters most because meaning is absolutely everything for brand. So brand is fundamentally about connection. Everything starts from there. And that's kind of why branding it's compounding over time, which is a little bit different than say like performance marketing or you're just running PPC ads. Brand compounds over time. Just like you don't get married after one date, unless I guess you're in Vegas. You don't form a bond with an audience after one activity or one asset or one moment. Connection compounds. It's also very associative. Like think Nike back in the day, building up on the associations off of the back of Michael Jordan, literally off the back of Michael Jordan, and reverse also. But at the basis of all of that is meaning. Because fundamentally, I know this might sound a little bit weird, we as human beings are fundamentally creatures of meaning, not utility. So everything we do in a weird way is a search for meaning. The search for meaning is the search for being, the search for existing. Wow. I know we just got like super existential like 2 minutes in, but that's actually good because branding is super existential. And that's why the glue that holds connection together is meaning. And I'll prove it to you. So imagine you had a friend, which for me is weird to imagine, hard to imagine. But then every week you have this friend. You went out for, I don't know, to a baseball game every day, which would be impossible because they don't play baseball every day and they stop playing for 5 months. But imagine they play baseball all year round every single day for 5 years. Or you played, Dungeons and Dragons in your mom's basement, whatever floats your boat. And you did this once a week for 5 years. That's got to be a good friend to keep doing that for 5 years together. But that's nowhere near as close as you are to, let's say, like your mom, assuming that you were close, whatever. I don't want to get into that stuff. But conceptually, right? Even if you were hardly ever see your mom, you're still far closer to why? Because your friend, in this case, right? Friends can be different also, but in this particular case, they help you relax, you have a good time, you connect over common interests and that kind of stuff. Your mom helps shape who you are. Like your identity, she provided for you, she gave you life, all of that deeper stuff. And that's far more meaningful than what your friend in this particular case provides you with. Okay, so the more meaningful, the more core to the actual existence, the more connection is possible. So the more core you as a brand are to your audience's actual existence, the stronger the bond. The more meaningful your brand is, which is why meaning matters, the more meaningful your brand is, i.e., the more it speaks to things that are core integral to your audience and their very being, the more connection you're going to have to your audience. So there is no brand without meaning because there's no genuine connection without meaning. So meaning has to be at the core of your brand strategy. And I will tell you 99.9999, I can go on %, it is not. And the net outcome of that is you spend tons of time either trying to build up a brand that doesn't work, or you spend tons of time and money trying to elicit a reaction, whether it be a payment, whether it be a social media, or whatever it is, from your audience. And it's like moving a mountain. If you want your performance to not be moving mountains, you need to have a brand that has meaning. If you want to have push user activations, you first have to connect in a meaningful way. Because what you're basically asking a user to do, when you ask them to convert or whatever it is, you're basically asking them to give you a loan for $500, whatever you're charging for your product. You're asking them to do it to a total stranger. And when was the last time you opened your wallet for a total stranger? I mean, you should. It's going to be generous, but this is business, not charity.
Wow. That's deep.
I know. We remember. So, but I do want to say, like, there are practical things to do here. Like, I know that was very conceptual, but I did that on purpose because brands should be conceptual. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to start with the pragmatics of it, but there are actual practical things you can be doing here So just to run through a few of them. One thing that helps me is to think about it at the micro level. When you start talking about connection and your audience and creating relationships and getting people to be motivated, when you keep it at the micro level, like between, you say, you and a friend or you and another person, whatever it is, it's really easy to see how that works. But for some reason, when we zoom out to brands and companies and whatever, we start to lose that basic sense of reality, and those things become difficult. So fine, keep it at the micro level. It's like economics. You understand at the micro level, like it becomes easier to extrapolate those concepts out. Same thing. Keep it at the micro level. What works for actual relationships, what works for actual identity, what works for actual resonance between two people also works at the macro level, and extrapolate out from there. The second thing, this is probably, I should have started with this, probably more important than that one. Maybe not. I don't know. No, it definitely is to differentiate between surface-like emotions and core integral emotions. So for example, and by the way, you have to be honest about that. So for example, one I always use is fun is a very surface-like emotion, whereas things like connection, overcoming struggle, those kind of things are much more deep and core meaningful. So you need to be honest with yourself and understand like what kind of emotional targeting your brand identity actually goes after. And if it's surface-like, don't do that. To help you do that, you can use a rubric to break down those emotional experiences. The way I kind of do it is, what kind of emotional, like if you're trying to elicit an emotional reaction from an audience, if you're targeting an emotional state of mind rather with an audience, is that sort of, is it surface-like? Is it neutral? Is it mildly deep? Does it have like significant resonation? Meaning, whatever emotion that you're targeting, there's a significant and noticeable emotional pull to that concept. Is it deep, or is just dripping with meaning? Or the last one is, I would go, is it existential? Like, is it profound, where it's almost like it almost produces like a visceral reaction when it connects to the audience. Like when you're watching a movie, like mine is Field of Dreams, when at the end the dad and the kid play catch, you just can't help yourself from crying, which now I'm going to start cheering up just thinking about it. If your brand can produce that kind of emotional connection, like you've hit the mark. The third thing is lean into what's meaningful to you. I just gave this advice to somebody the other day. It's a two-way street. You just can't, okay, let's target the audience and speak to the audience. It's a relationship. So what's meaningful to you matters also. And you can't fake that till you make it kind of thing. So you have to understand who you are and what's meaningful to you and how that fits into the audience's context. And the last tip, which I think is number 5, I could be wrong, I'm not good at counting. You should think about this more like tapping into, I know we say building brand, but it's more like tapping into yourself and understanding and really being honest with who you are, and what you're trying to do versus building something. It's more tapping in. That mindset of is tapping into something that's already there is super helpful.
That's awesome. That was so profound of me. That's awesome, Marty. Like, cool. That's like the best.
Saturday Night Live, like, hey, Paul, they interviewed Paul McCartney. Remember you were in the Beatles? Yeah. That was awesome, man. I'm dating myself with that skit, by the way.
No, that's all good things. So I have a question for you. Like, let's say, here's my question. Is this universally applicable? Like, let's say you are selling Morty's widgets and shakes, and you're a company that sells cogs for wheels and milkshakes. And like, you know what I mean?
That's strong brand identity right there. Cogs and milkshakes.
Right. Yeah. So, but milkshakes, people emotionally eat. And so like, that's an easier one, obviously, to connect with people on. But cogs are really like, they're pretty, like the clockwork thing might be pretty unemotional. Like, so would you appeal to people's like need for control or accuracy or precision? Like, how do you apply this to something that might seem like an unemotional product or service?
So the people ask me this kind of like all the time. What I just outlined is a process, and that process is universal. So I'm not talking like it always will look slightly different when it's applied. But the thing with brand, maybe different than maybe other disciplines, is that it's all about process, and the process should be relatively universal. So let's say you're talking about widgets. First off, there's a reason why you went into that business. There's a reason why you think it's important that people have this widget. There's a reason why there's an impact that you're trying to make on people's lives. There's a story there, right? There's meaning in that. If there wasn't meaning to that, why are you doing it?
Right. Even if it's something like efficiency or cost saving.
Yeah, no,
like
efficiency
is something, right?
But I would always like, if it's an efficiency, like people will like stop. Well, why is that efficiency important to that person? Like what's going on? Like imagine it's like a busy like parent and you're making their lives more efficient. So we say our product makes it more efficient. I wouldn't stop there, right? Go to the next. What does that efficiency look like to that person, and why does it matter?
Yeah, how would that touch them emotionally to feel like their life works, that they have a cog that they can trust?
I feel like a cog in a machine.
Don't we all at times, Morty? Yeah. Don't we all?
Yeah.
So, and then the other question I actually wanted to ask you is this. So, what if, let's go back to the ice cream. What if it feels surfacey and it doesn't feel deep? How do you bring it to that deeper level? Like, as opposed to like, it's like I had a bad day and I want to eat a pipe because I know it'll feel better. It's very surfacey, but like what's under that? How do you go deeper?
Well, so first of all, in that particular case, like what's going on that's making you want to eat like that? Like there's clearly something going on. I know as someone who would sit down with a pint. This never really pops up. I'll tell you where it pops up a lot, where you have like you're in a vertical where I'll say digital marketing agencies, we all kind of sound the same. Sorry. We offer PPC and SEO and blah, blah, blah. And like, well, what else do we say? So again, it's all about tapping in. And if you can tap into why digital marketing is meaningful to you, like I said before, like it's a two-way street. There has to be part of you involved in this connection. And you're the meeting of two identities, your audience identity and your identity. So if you're like, tap into yourself. Why did you get into digital marketing? Why do you think it's important for people to have this? What do you think it does for them? Again, all of that motivation or reasoning and story behind what you did and how you got here, there's usually an underlying level of meaning in there that you just haven't sat down and really got in touch with. Think of it like therapy for your brand.
Yeah, I really like that, Morty. So I think that in future episodes, we will get more into things like, so how does that translate into messaging or calls to action or, all the various things that brands can help with. So just teasing that a little bit, there's definitely more to come.
We're going to get into a lot of how does brand actually impact your performance. I will give you a spoiler alert. It makes it a lot cheaper.
Nice. All right, Morty, do you have any final thoughts for today or should we wrap it up?
Oh, no, I'm saving my thoughts for the next episode. Tease.
Yeah, no, all good things. All right. That's it for today. Have a good one. I am Katie Morton. This is Mordy Oberstein signing out. Bye.
Bye.